Praise be to Blessed Zunki. Disco Moot here with 1500 versus Dark Elves. Slanlord Mortezuma here. Necromantic loves to twist the mind of the lesser races and bring along big dinosaurs. Has a lore familiar ethereal, and I think he took a ruby ring. I'll tell you now, the ruby ring, the Spirit Leech, and Curse of the Years did nothing for the entire game. Along with Scarvet, Scaramani, standard sort of fit out here. We hadn't played the Lonely Tower, so that's what we did. Now, I'd rank this as a high to medium power level. I've got a Carnosaur. He has a dragon with a sorcerer on it with a 4+ water save. So this is not a tooled up Lord Dragon. He has Cold One Knights with a wizarding hat. He has a hero on a chariot. He has quite a bit of banners that have to do with combat res. I took a Troglodon. I didn't take a Stegodon. I'm trying to balance my power out when I'm taking a Carnosaur. Stegodons are quite good. Troglodons are not. This is deployment. I was really happy with it. I had something I wanted to go with, and I found out pretty soon this was a disaster. First thing is, there was 29 inches between the Bastillodon and what I wanted to fire at, and I knew I could move 4. I knew I could shoot 24, and I just didn't do the maths, and I was an inch short. Secondly, Unquiet Spirits is a fantastic spell to take down cavalry. His Cold One's Knights had a 2+ save, and they, of course, ignore armor save, but it's a 15-inch spell range, and I was supposed to, in my head, use Arcane Vassal with the Troglodon on turn 1, but I put it over there, so that was a big mistake, number 2. And then it was, Flight 10 on a dragon. Surprised me a little. I didn't realize they were quite that fast, given my, Carnosaurs are movement 7. And I was like a mill inside of the range, and the dragon charged the Troglodon turn 1 and killed it before I could even attack back. So that was really rough. And the repeater bolt throwers did 2 wounds to the Carnosaur, so now on 4. And that brings us to turn 2. Now, one thing he did do was he reformed his dragon to face my Carnosaur, expecting me, I think, to have a big creature battle off. But boy, it just rolled the Troglodon so quickly and so easily, and he has initiative, that I just thought, I think the best idea for me here is to try to minimize the amount of damage I'll take from the dragon and, run him around. So I charged. Now, the Spearmen failed their Terror chest, and then they passed it on a reroll for the Battle Standard Bearer. It wasn't until after the game my opponent and I went, Battle Standard doesn't work on the Terror. So something that we should have known, but in any event, bam, they got into combat. They issue a challenge. I kill them. They fall back in good order, and it's on for next turn. My Skinks are just going to spend the game harrying and shooting the crossbowmen, and then the Sauruses are going to back up a little bit, expecting an incoming charge. Unquiet Spirits does go off this game, very fortunately, and it kills 2 Cold Ones, so I'm really stoked with that. That makes that unit a lot less scary. Turn 2 of the Dark Elves. So I got Spiritual Vortex off. Now, usually I'm, attacking leadership and trying to make people flee, but this area here has quite a bit of stupid, and he literally rolled an 8 and fails stupidity thanks to that Vortex. So they just shuffle forward a little bit. His chariot charges them and succeeds. Now, I will say that in the next turn, I said to him, "Are you sure that chariot has swift stride?" I don't know chariots did, and it didn't. But hey, we all make mistakes, and I should have known. I play against chariots all the time against chaos, and so that was both our mistakes. But hey, it got in. It killed the champion and fell back in good order, and it followed the chariot. The dragon turns around. I'm going to cast some spells, ready and do some shooting. And the Carnosaur wins, runs him off the table, but of course it's frenzied, so it also runs off the table. And it also takes a wound, now down to 3 wounds, the Carnosaur, whereas the dragon has not been touched. So the Bastillodon charges into the flank and does, I think, 3 wounds to that chariot, takes a couple back. The Slan kind of spins around, making sure I'm out of charge arcs, but can still shoot, and is particularly Unquiet Spirits, and make sure that the vision arc works. The Carnosaur just goes next to the War Machine, and the Skinks continue to harass and shoot. Unquiet Spirits again goes off and again claims 2. Only the champion is left. So I'm rolling pretty well on Magic here. I'll say I roll well for Magic most of the game, particularly dispelling some of his things. So turn 3 here, and he fails stupid again with them and shuffles forward. Now this, I think he actually dispelled that vortex from memory, but I can't quite remember. But in any event, his Wizarding Hat was one of the few things could deal with the Ethereal Slan, so he really wanted to get in there, and he got pretty unlucky with those rolls. Um, and here I think he made a mistake, but hindsight and all that. But my Magic was doing a lot, and he wanted to be able to dispel. He had Magic Missiles of his own, he had Breath Weapons of his own, and decided not to charge. He decided to stand there and shoot, and did little bit of damage to the Saurus, I think, but not a lot, and probably in retrospect should have charged. Yeah, he also cast a conveyance spell, which I hadn't seen before. So he took the old mate chariot out of combat and faced him to the rear of the Saurus. So this was going to get pretty sticky. And the crossbowman took another wound off the Carnosaur, now on 4. Now on 2, having taken 4. Lizardman turn 2. Now, I was hit with a moment of inspiration here. If you've seen my battle report from the Bretonians last one, that was 20 reports ago. Stuff like this does not happen often, but I thought to myself, that dragon doesn't have a magic weapon. I mean, it has an assailment spell, and Dark Magic assailment spell is terrible. I'm going to charge. My Slan charged the dragon. I might not be able to do any damage, but I'll be able to lock it into combat for probably the entire game. And while I'm in the rear, I'll be winning combat. So who knows? I might even get to break it. And the dragon elected to flee because, little precious dragons are scared of big tough Slan when it comes to combat. Now, unfortunately, I didn't manage to run it down. So a lot was going to rest on the rally turn in the next my opponent's next turn. The Carnosaur, of course, wins combat and moves up into tries to get into the action, and I continue to shoot. The Dark Elf turn 4. So the first thing that happens is the chariot fails at stupid. He again unlucky with those stupid tests because that would have been a pretty devastating recharge. Fortunately, the Coal one does not fail and charges the Bastiladon, and the champion with the Wizarding Hat destroys the remaining wounds. I think it might have been on 2 wounds at that point. And so that's dead. The dragon does rally, and so I can't say my Slan soloed a dragon and ran up there ready to, recharge the Saurus. He's not going to make that mistake again. Turn 5, my Carnosaur charges the Cold 1 champion, kills it, rolls 4 on its pursuit. He's overrun, I should say, and can't hit anything else. The Slan just back up. Sorry, the Saurus is just back up slightly, trying to maybe put some pressure on taking this if I can survive like 3 combat phases with a dragon. So I can't survive 3 combat phases with the dragon. He rolls a 5 and a 6 on his stomp attacks, and that dragon just absolutely decimates a unit of Sauruses. And the dragon puts its 5-unit strength towards the tower. As you can see here, I think it took 2, maybe 3 combat phases. I can't remember, but it's all done. The Carnosaur charges the hero. Now, the hero had initiative, and the hero 3 attacks, hit all 3, and needed 6s to wound, rolled 2 6s. The Carnosaur was on 2 wounds, and did not manage to save for the Armor of Meteoric Iron. The Talisman of Protection was left next, and I rolled a 1 and I rolled a 5. And thus, the Carnosaur ended on a single wound. Had I managed to die there, he certainly would have won, but winners are grinners because the Carnosaur, at the end of turn 6 was on a single wound anywhere. Meanwhile, his dragon was completely untouched. And the Skinks did their job. They moved into we decided a highest unit strength counters having captured it, and the unit strength there was 9. The Dragons was 5, so I counters having captured. The victory points were about 750 to about 1200. So even without that, I would have won without the objective. But let's be honest, there was nothing I could do about that dragon at that point. Should we play, turns 7 and 8 goes on, there's no doubt he would have tabled me. But it is what it is, and the game works that way sometimes. So look, subpar dragons are crazy good. You know, D6 stomps, strength 7, AP neg 2. I mean, that's nuts. Necromancy is a lot of fun. It's not good. I'm not saying it's good. But when you're trying to game socially and you're taking a lot of monsters, it's good to balance a bit, and I think it does. Although Unquiet Spirits was an absolute ripper this game because of the cav, and not only that, they were cold ones, so even attacking leadership did more than it normally would. Um, yeah, I was really surprised to find out. I don't play Dark Elves too often. That cold ones were strength 4, toughness 4, cold one knights. Which our cold one knights are, but we're base 4/4. They're base 3/3. So I don't understand why they're so good. Their cold ones even grant toughness to their lords, although in fairness, our lords go up a toughness, whereas theirs don't. There's a toughness 3. But yeah, very odd. This scenario was a lot of fun. I don't know if we haven't played it before, but I think it's a fantastic game. It really was a great, great game. Now, I need to get tighter on rules. I made two mistakes there about the battle standard and Swift Stride that I should have known, not to mention the distances of arcane urgency and all that sort of thing. But the game was really, really fun. They always are. That's the old world.